Hashem's Basai Tivtach L'Pi Gita Sacha. We're now on the 17th Perek of Yehoshua. Here we continue to designate portions for each of the Shvatim. And while we have completed Ephraim, and we are now continuing with Menashe. Now Menashe, Kihu Bechor Yosef, he is the eldest of Yosef. L'Mechir Bechor Menashe, and Mechir was the firstborn of Menashe. And what we're going to understand is they're divvying up the chelek, and the people that are on this side of the Yarden. Remember, some of them have already gotten their portions on the other side of the Yarden. Here, what we're assigning are the people that are going to get from Menashe from this side of the Yarden. Now, the most important one that we, or I guess the one that we can highlight is Ulitzlovchad ben Sefer ben Gilad ben Mechir, who was the eldest, so ben Menashe. So of all of Menashe's children, Mechir was the oldest. Mechir had Gilad, Gilad had Sefer, Sefer had Tzlopchad. Wait, we know Tzlopchad, right? Lo hayulo banim ki im banos. He had those 5 very special daughters. And what was special about these daughters, who are Machla, Noah, Tirza, Chagla, and Milcah, is that they were very, very pro Eretz Yisrael. And in fact, Tzlopchad was one of the people of Menashe. Now, his family inherited 40%. The Benos Tzlopchad get 40% of the land on the side of the Yarden. Now, he was designated to get the other side. They were designated to get the other side. But they showed such avas Eretz Yisrael that HaKadosh Baruch Hu listened, and they complained. They said, we don't want that side. And so they could have had the easy bet, but rather they have now waited 7 years and into the next 7 years to be able to get their portion on this side of the Yarden. Now, what's so special about them that we make such a big deal about them in the Torah? We know that Moshe Rabbeinu, he had lost some of the halachos. He didn't know what to do with the Benos Tzlopchad, and essentially, so, okay, these are girls, and the girls, like, what is the backstory about these Benos Tzlopchad, besides that they're smart and definitely, want their portion? What is this about wanting their portion? So as we've mentioned, they didn't want just any portion. They understood that they were going to get a portion. They wanted the portion that they could get on this side of the Yarden. They love Eretz Yisrael, and they believed that they are going to push and work hard until they get what they want. Now, that is an amazing thing, but where does that amazingness come from? Where, here we mentioned Machla, Noah, Chagla, Milcah, and Tirza, but what we mentioned even before that, which is what makes them really famous, is that they are the Benos Tzlopchad. Who was Tzlopchad? So we have mentioned that Tzlopchad was the wood chopper. He was the Makoshe Sheitzim. He, when the Bnei Yisrael were in the Midbar, saw that after the Cheta of the Meraglim, the Bnei Yisrael were dejected. They were depressed. They didn't want to continue doing anything. They were done, not having it, no way. And so what happened? Instead, he decided that he was going to show them, no. You might feel like disconnected from Eretz Yisrael or some of the promises that Hashem gave, but we are Jews. Jews keep the Torah. We are never going to be disconnected from the Torah and from halacha. And so what he wanted to see and show them was, just like in halacha, there is a Shabbos, and you don't violate the Shabbos for anything. So too, and look, I'm going to get punished. And so he purposely chopped wood on Shabbos so that he would get punished. And then the people would perhaps start to fear or be in awe of, or trickle in their emotional rejuvenation and become good Jews again. Now, you're not allowed to do an Avera even if it's for the right reason, except under very, very, very interesting circumstances. But because he showed such emphasis on doing for the sake of Eretz Yisrael and Klal Yisrael and the Torah of Yisrael, so too, that's who they are. They are people who just want to be in Eretz Yisrael, and they just want halacha, and they literally, that's what their mahus is, that's what their essence is. And so for that reason, of course, Hashem wanted them on the other side of the Yarden, because that's what we need. We need all the chalotzim, we need all of the Zionists to be on that side, so that the people will remain intact and will do what they have to do. And they said, no way. Our homeland, our love, we want to live in Israel. And that has been trickling in and passed down from generation to generation. That desire to know, I just need to be in Israel. Okay, so that is, that's all they want. They want to have a nachla. They want to have a portion. They go to Elazar, the Kohen, and Yehoshua, and they say, please give us a portion so that we can have a portion. But really what they were saying is, we know we're going to get a portion. We want the portion. And 10 districts fell to Menashe, and apart from and Menashe's kibnos, what did they get? They get 40% of it, and it's an amazing thing. They get exactly what they worked hard for, and they gave a lot of nachas to their father. Okay, moving on. It just describes all of the topography and exactly the borders of Menashe, how it went across and down and all of that. And there are a lot of ideas about what is the concept of this lottery? Like, what happened to the last Shevet? Did that Shevet also do a lottery? Here, it was pretty obvious that, Bnei Yosef got a certain designated area. So why in the world do they need to have a lottery? Couldn't they just figure, okay, by process of elimination, of all of those areas have been procured by somebody else? So then obviously, whatever's left over is going to go to the remaining families in Menashe. But the answer is no. The way that the Torah worked this, the way that Hashem wanted it, was that it was still going to be from a lottery, because that is what it was determined. And so, we have this sometimes a distinction, and we have to make a distinction between what we derive from the Torah and how we just follow the Torah. So in this case, even though it may not have made logical sense, it was apportioned, and we won't know exactly how and why and who, but we know that it's significant. We also know, that that the people of Menashe, they were the most enormous out of all of the growth was incredibly, incredibly big. And so their land was a very big land, but it wasn't big enough. We have Amrav, Az Asher, Az Ko Barcheni Hashem. We're so numerous since we got into Eretz Yisrael, since there has been a Shechina, since that Shechina and Hashem is so close to the Bnei Yisrael, a lot of bracha came to them. And so as soon as they got into the land, they multiplied a lot by tens and tens of thousands. And as a result, they're saying, okay, so it's a little bit small right now, and we're squished. We need to have more land. So, what does Yehoshua answer them? Im am ravata, if you are numerous, alelacha haya'ara, go to the forest, uve'arta lacha sham be'eretz haprizi b'harifa'im, and clear for yourself, go to the forest and then clear for yourself a territory from the Prizi and the Rephaim, ki az lacha har Ephraim, because you might be, if you're cramped in the har Ephraim. So what is going on here? So there's a beautiful idea if you think about it, right? Why is he telling them to clear the land in the forest? So again, he's saying like this: if you're seeing a lot of bracha, then your job is to be hatsnei halachas, hide the bracha, go into a forest, because otherwise what happens is people are not going to begin. There's going to be ayin hara. Now we know that Yosef's generations are above ayin hara. They don't get ayin hara. But at the end of the day, in general, one of the ways that we can think about if there is bracha is that we just have to hide it. We cannot allow it to lead to kina and sina in the people around. So if you do that, if you just can, kind of find your place up in the forest and just hide it a little bit, then you'll see that it'll be good enough. And by Bnei Yosef said, Lo yametzu lanu hahar, b'rechav barzel b'chol ha'knani ha'yoshev eretz ha'emek, la'asher beis sha'an u'bnoseha, u'la'asher be'emek Yisrael. And they say, whoa, wait a second, the Canaanim are living there. They have iron chariots, right? Is that, they're very strong. There is, it's an ironclad rule that people are not going to begin. And, or the idea that they're not believing in their own capability. They're looking at the capability and the weaponry of those outside of themselves. And that is a dangerous position to take on. It's a dangerous position to think that the enemy, not even the enemy, but that any enemy in the form of even feelings is strong. But here they're saying, this is the time of when iron is, just developing in civilization. And they're like, well, we have a lot of iron. And they have a lot of iron, which is kind of the equivalent of like a nuclear, plant. They have weapons of mass destruction. And Yehoshua says, Am ravata, you are many, b'koach gadolach, but you have a responsibility. Lo yelecha gorel echad. You're not going to have only one allotment, right? So, meaning, Am Rav, you have a Rav. You are an established community. You are role models. So you know that you have a Koach Gadol. Kadosh Baruch Hu takes care of his role models. He makes sure that everything is okay. You have the aura of a Shechina on you. So, there's no limits. Ki har yelach, the hill is going to be yours also. You can reach any heights. Ki ya'arhu, because it's a forest land. Uvera, uveirato, bahayalacha totzav. You can clear it and you can go even further. In life, you need to dream big. You need to think big. You have brachas. First of all, don't complain about the brachas. Hide them, put them away, use them effectively. But you're concerned that they won't last, that you'll have an ayin hara. No. Just wait a second, right? That's not what happens. You need to clear, and you need to know that you can go in as many ways as you possibly want to go, and you can. Torishes aknani ki rechav barzel lo ki chazaku. Even though people will always be strong, and even though the enemy might always seem formidable, and that is either the enemy from within, like your own Yetzer Hara, or the enemy from without, right? And even if they're strong, and even if temptations are great, Yehoshua is saying, I believe in you. You need to believe in you. You need to know that you can clear it, you can possess, you can go to the furthest ends in your avodas Hashem, in what you are able to accomplish in life. But that comes with a belief and a clarity. Clarity like clearing the way in the forest. And it's no wonder when we're talking about clearing the forest, we know that Atze Ya'ar is, the Torah is Eitz Chaim. The metaphor is really the same, and that is that you can learn in Torah, you can grow, you can be a Torahic Jew wherever you go. You might have to work hard, and it might seem, especially in Gullus, right? It might seem that everyone's got iron chariots. They're all strong. Temptations are just so powerful. But rather, what is Yehoshua saying in his amazing manhig tone of voice? He's saying, no, you got this. You need to band together, work together, and push through. And having brachas is just the beginning of the picture. Now you have to do something with those brachas. You need to clear the way, make sure that your forest and all the Torah inside and all the right values, make sure it's cleared and of all bad influences, and then you'll be able to do it. You might think that, it's too hard and life is tough and the temptations are enormous and everything is pulling me in the wrong direction. But that's where Yehoshua was like, no, you got this. You can easily pave the way and easily clear what you have to do, that clear path in order to get to owning this land, this beautiful, beautiful land that we see from the beginning of the Perek, that the Bnei Tzlopchad, they wanted it so badly. And it reminds, as Drachim says, it reminds us of the Pesach Sheni, that time where people were not in the right mindset and kedusha to be able. They were tamei. They had to push off the korban Pesach, and because they weren't holy, they were tamei. But that wasn't good enough. They had a Pesach Sheni to highlight and to represent. No. There's one time where it doesn't work out, but I will take the chance and make the next time work, because Hashem gives us everything we need, all the brachas for a purpose. So we have to be strong. We have to use our brachas effectively. Just like we see the absolute role models of Bnei Tzlopchad, and how much it reminds us of all of the role models who significantly appreciated having another opportunity to do Korban Pesach when it was taken away. And Bnei Tzlopchad, they could have just said, you know what, great, I have a portion. No, they pushed and pushed and pushed until they got what they wanted, which is a portion on the Iver HaYarden that they could appreciate a lot more.